Hi, look, I'm just going to do a demonstration on how to make, how to cut bits of timber differently. Now, most of us have got a, what is known as a wood block, and for this, just to cut a piece of, simple piece of timber, you're going to need a pencil. You're always going to need a pencil. So what I want to do with this is I just want to measure off 30 millimeters. Okay, so making sure that when I measure that the steel ruler is at the end of the timber, because that's a 0 mark, and wherever my mark is, I always got to mark in this line this way, up and down like this. Then I want to make sure it's square, because we want to make sure when we cut something it is known as square, because this piece down here, this is what's known as a square, that's 90 degrees. And because we put that as a square like that, that's where that term comes from. So we want to make sure that's at 90 degrees. Next is I'm going to cut this piece of timber off. Okay, and I'm going to use what's known as a tenon saw. A rib, lots of teeth on it, and a handle. So the best way to cut one of these pieces nice and straight and nice and square is to put your finger near the edge there, and then put your saw blade on there and pull back a few times. And once you've got it back a few times on an angle, and as you're cutting, you're bringing it down onto the line. Now I can bring it harder against this block here, and I'm going to tighten that up because it's a bit loose. Okay, so that's my block, and technically that should be square, which it is, because there's hardly any gap in there. But because I've been doing this for so long, I'm pretty good at it. You guys, when you go to do your cutting, you won't be so good at it. So what I want to do is I want to teach you to make a tool that can help you to cut your timber square. So instead of using one of these, we're going to be using one of these. Now this is a commercially made one, it's plastic, it's made by Stanley. It's what's known as a mitre box. And as you can see, it has a short side and has a long side. The long side goes into the vise, like so, and you can tighten this up. And then once again, I can measure off my 30 millimeters, draw my line, and now I can put it in my box. Now this one is designed so that when you put this in here, the rib hits the top and it doesn't cut down any further. So that's good, that's what it's designed for. It can also go at 45 degrees, so sometimes you might have to cut something at 45 degrees, but for most of the time you'll be cutting at 90 degrees. Like I said, this is a plastic one. It has a little clamp in it, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. So what we need to do is we want to cut that off. So we put our piece in our mitre box, making sure it's on that side, because the saw cuts in a pushing motion. Because it cuts in a pushing motion, if we have it over here, it's actually going to push away and we're not going to get anything, it's not going to cut very well. So we want to make sure it's on that side. Now I've lined my line up with my square, with my 90 degree mark. Now because this has a little tool, it's a little clamping tool, what I can do is I can put this in here and I can actually clamp it so it's nice and tight. This is specially designed, see all these holes? Depending on where you want your piece of timber to be. It's a little clamping device. Then I can now I've cut all the way through, I can unclamp that, not that way, and as you can see I've got a nice clean cut at 90 degrees. But because these cost about $30 each, made of plastic, these will end up breaking. This squashes in here, being students, it's not going to last very long. So what I want you to do is I want you to make your own, and we're going to make our own one doing this. One, you'll get three bits of timber and you'll get 6 screws. So as you can see, the 2 bits of timber are different widths. They represent, this one represents this side and this one represents that side. So that this one is quite a bit longer. It's the one that will end up going into the vise to stop it sliding around. So, pieces of two pieces of plywood and a centerpiece. Now this is plywood, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ply. 5 layers of timber, and they've all been shaved and glued in opposite directions. So technically this is a lot stronger than this, which only has grain going in one direction. Solid piece, this one's manufactured. But technically this is stronger because it has the grain going that way, and the next layer goes that way, with the next layer going that way, with the next layer going this way. This one, only one way, but it is still quite strong. So what we want to do is we want to make one of these from this. So what we need to do is lay our pieces of timber out. Now, using our pencil, we want to write down top. We want to write down top. Then, using our block of wood through the middle here, alright, what we want to do is we want to mark that off. Now, as you can see on this side, this is flush here, but this one sticks over a bit. So, for this piece here, we're going to extend these over a bit further. And for this one, we're going to extend this line a bit further too. So in fact what we're going to have is we're going to have it like this, one piece like that and one like that. That's how it's going to be. Next we need to drill some holes in there. 1, 2, 3 holes, and to do that we're going to have to do set outs. So this piece of timber is 300 millimeters long from there to there. We want to put 3 screws in here. 1, 2 and 3. So what we want to do is we want to find the centre. So we're going to find the centre of 300, and what's half of 300? Mr. Video Man, what's half of 300?
150.
150. So we're going to measure it at 150 millimetres. Then we also want to come in 50 millimetres from this side for another screw hole, and we're going to come 50 millimetres in this side. That makes 250. That's there. We want to do the same on this piece. 300, half of 300 or the centre, 50. Then we want to come across here, 50 millimetres, and back this way, 50 millimetres. Okay? Now using my square, I'm going to square these lines off, and I'm just going to 1, 2, 3. Don't just go like this, because you might end up doing a crooked line. Remember, we want to make sure everything is square. So I'm going to do the same on this one. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Now, we want our screws to go in the centre, like that. So now that we know that this measurement here on our timber is 35 millimetres, we want our hole to go in the centre. So half of 35 millimetres is, Mr. Video Man? 17.5 millimetres, yeah? Alright, so using our square, what we can do is we can measure 17, and good luck with the 0.5, and we want to go this way. And we want to make a little cross. We want to make a little cross because that's exactly where our screws are going to go. 17.5, good luck with the 0.5. And the same on this one. Now this one, remember, this one's a little bit different. So we're starting at 20 here, and I'm going to go up 17. So that makes it 10, 15, 16, 17. So there. So that's going to be my 0 mark, even though it's on 2. So 10, 17 there. And once again here, 17 here. Okay, so we've got crosses, and that's where we want to drill some holes using a cordless drill. So you're going to need 3 pieces of equipment for your cordless drill, and you're going to be able to have to interchange each and every one of them. First of all, we're going to drill a hole. Then we're going to countersink the hole. Now the countersink is such that when we put the screw in, you'll notice that the head, it'll make sure the head goes below the surface. And next is a driver bit. Now the drill works like this. This is a chuck, a keyless chuck. And if I hold this, you watch what happens there. There's 3 little teeth in there, and they come out and they actually grip whatever's there. Go backwards and hold it. The best way to put a drill bit in is to hold it with your index finger and thumb, put it in, and then clasp around with your pinky and your ring finger on the chuck. Make sure it's on forward, and just make sure it comes out nice and slowly, and when it grips then you can grab the whole thing and tighten it up. Ow! You might end up burning yourself, which is good. So once we've got our drill bit in, all we need to do is drill our holes. One, two. Now make sure that you don't drill into the bench, please. Don't drill in like that. Make sure it's over the bench or over something. Two. Now I'm going to change this bit over. I want to change it for a countersinker. So I'm going to put my thumb on there again. I'm going to clasp it and I'm going to pull it. Got to put it on reverse. And I'm just going to hold the chuck and it'll come loose. Then I'm going to put that in. And it's not quite far enough in, so I've got to open it up a bit more. Then I have to click the button. So now we've got our 6 holes drilled, and the head of this should fit in there so it'll be flush with the surface. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to glue and screw. So once again I'm going to take this out. Whoops. I'm going to put this one in. And I'll pick up my countersink. And because I'm so well prepared, I forgot the one important thing we will need, and that is some glue. Which hopefully some will come out of this bottle. In fact, I might even just... That one's so wrecked. So hopefully that'll work. Alright, so what we need to do now is our block of wood. Our block of wood is 35 millimeters wide. Okay? And it's 70 millimeters, 35 millimeters thick I should say, and 70 millimeters wide. So when you, this actual timber, when you order a size, the size of this is 70, let me write it this way, it's 70 by 35, because it's 70 this way, by 35 that way. Now remembering everything has 3 dimensions, so we've got 3 dimensions, so this dimension, this lengthways is 300. So it's 70 by 35, and it's a 300 millimeter length. Alright, so what we need to do is, first of all, this is we're going to put our short piece on, which is the easiest one. I'm going to put some glue on. Hopefully some glue will come out. Alright, I'm going to put that on. I'm going to make sure it's flush on the bottom there. This is what's known as flush, if you feel with your fingers here. Okay, that should be flush there. Then I'm going to put 1 screw in. Now make sure you push down. Okay. Now this has a number of settings. That's for straight screwing, but I can use it as a clutch setting where I turn these numbers, and it will stop. It will stop at a certain torque, so I don't overscrew them. So I might put this one in next. Hear that noise? That means that's not screwing anymore. It's gotten so strong that it's not going to over tighten them. And I'll put one in here too. Oh, I've got a bit too much. That's better. Now to do the next piece. Now many of you will go into the trick of doing it like that again, flush, remembering we want to make sure that this is overhanging. So the best way to do that is to do it upside down. And I once again want a bit of glue. I wish the glue would come out properly, but we're not having much luck. So I'm going to put that on there like that, and I'm going to tip it over. I'm going to make it sit straight up and down. Okay, so as you can see, it'll still line up with this. So we're going to clasp it with our hand, or maybe get a clamp. And I'm going to maybe come around this way. What's the video, man? Mr. Schwendy. And then once again I'm going to put a screw in there. similar to that. One side is longer than the other. Okay, so now with this piece I can easily put this into the vise and it won't go anywhere. Now because it's we want to use it as a cutting box and we're going to be cutting lots of different timber into it, what we want to do is I'm going to put a cut. I'm going to make it at, am I going to make it in the centre? Yeah, I might make it in the centre. I might choose 200 actually. I might just choose 200 because I am right-handed. I'll put my right hand in here and then I've got plenty of room in here for my right hand to go. So 200 is okay. So I'm going to set mine at 200 millimetres from the end. I'm going to use a square. I'm going to carry that off. And then I'm going to bring that up. And I'm going to bring that one down. Unfortunately, I've got the vise in the way. I'm going to bring that one down. Then, using my saw, once again, finger on the side there, pushing this way, and finger pushes against the other edge. Pull back a few times, and then I can set that down. I want to make sure I follow that line all the way down. Right, so now that I've got it fairly straight, I've got this other line here, and I want to start to cut that one as well. So I want to make sure that's nice and square. This one will guide me, and this one should just follow. And I want to make sure I keep straight. I'm always looking at this line here, and I'm always looking at this line here, because I want to make sure I keep it straight. A lot of it is in your hand. So what we needed to do now, I'm going to do the same again here. I'm going to cut this one at 30 millimetres, mark it at 30, use my square. Now I can line it up with my cut. Make sure I'm pushing down and that way. So don't just push it that way or that way, you've got to push it like into the corner. So I'm going to put my hand in there and pushing down into the corner. That's just my little clamp. I'm going to make sure I've got it on the line that I need it to be on. Right there, on the waist side of the line. And now, okay, so that's just broken off. And as you can see, perfectly square. So now you have your own cutting box here. And you can use it to cut many of your projects that you'll be making in the future. So these are one of your assessment items. Make sure you make one of these for your assessment items. You'll be using it for a lot of your stuff. You'll have many projects to make, and this will make it much easier to cut your timber rather than using a wood block. All right, thank you for listening to me, and hopefully you got something out of that.